In the heart of the city's oldest district stood the Malhotra Mansion, a structure that appeared as an ordinary warehouse from the outside but concealed a legendary secret within. Deep inside its thick walls sat a massive iron safe that had remained unopened for 3 years, despite the efforts of international engineers and digital lock experts. Malhotra, the wealthy owner, had grown desperate and irritable, offering a massive reward of 10 crore rupees to anyone who could crack the steel beast. It was rumored that the safe held generations of wealth, including gold bricks, diamonds, and rare historical coins. On a day filled with media cameras and skeptical businessmen, a 16-year-old boy named Aman stepped forward from the crowd. He looked out of place in his torn shirt and dusty slippers, but his eyes held a calm confidence that silenced the laughing onlookers. Aman was the son of a ragpicker, raised among rusted locks and scrap metal, where he learned that every lock has a voice. Aman approached the safe not with tools or machines, but with patience and a listening ear. He closed his eyes, feeling the surface for hidden points of pressure and tapping the metal to hear its internal echo. As the crowd watched in silence, he found a tiny protrusion that others had mistaken for rust and applied a precise amount of pressure. A soft click resonated through the hall, followed by another as the internal mechanisms began to yield to his touch. With one final adjustment, the heavy iron door swung open, revealing a fortune worth 5,000 crore rupees. Whilst Malhotra stood in shock, Aman remained humble, proving that skill is more valuable than status. He used his reward to open the Aman Lock School, a workshop where he taught poor children that talent is a treasure that can open any door in life. The second part of Aman's journey began when his reputation as a master of locks spread far beyond the city, bringing both fame and hidden dangers. One evening, a group of men in expensive cars arrived at his workshop, offering him a blank check to open a safe for their private interests. Aman sensed their ill intentions and refused, realizing that his skill carried a moral weight he hadn't fully considered before. Soon after, the government requested his help to open a safe found in an ancient mountain fort that was believed to contain vital historical records. Unlike his first challenge, this task was not about money, but about uncovering the truth of the past. After 3 hours of intense concentration, Aman opened the safe to find documents that corrected centuries of misunderstood history. This experience solidified his belief that a true master must know when to open a door and when to keep it closed. Despite the threats from those who wanted to exploit him, Aman stood his ground with the support of his students and the law. He transformed his training center into a place where children learned not just technical skills, but also the ethics of their craft. He often told his students that fear is like a lock that only grows stronger if ignored, but loosens once you understand its mechanics. Years later, even when Malhotra visited him as a humbled man, Aman remained the same person who once sat in the dust. He kept his old torn shirt as a reminder that a journey's beginning should never be forgotten, no matter how high the destination. His life became a testament to the idea that destiny is not a locked vault reserved for the lucky, but a door that opens for those with the right heart and the right effort. Aman's life was no longer that of an ordinary boy. He had become the talk of the town, with his name appearing everywhere from newspapers to news channels. While some called it a miracle and others a game of luck, Aman stayed away from the fame, spending his days in his small workshop early every morning, opening and repairing locks. The only difference now was that he had better tools, a cleaner space, and most importantly, the respect of the people rather than their suspicion. Within a few days of opening his workshop, crowds of children from the slums and poor neighbors began to arrive, children who had talent but no opportunity. Aman taught them his first and most important rule: do not hurry, because a lock always opens with patience, not anger. He would sit on the floor with them, explaining things not like a master, but like an elder brother. However, peace in any story rarely lasts long, and one evening as Aman was closing his workshop, a black car pulled up. Men who did not look ordinary stepped out. They were dressed in expensive clothes and had an air of authority. One of them asked if he was the one who opened the Malhotra safe, and when Aman nodded, the man offered him a deal. They had a safe they wanted him to open, and he could ask for whatever price he wanted. Aman sensed something wrong with the proposal and realized for the first time that great skill brings great danger. He flatly refused, stating he would not help with the legal work, and the man left with a chilling warning that opportunities do not come twice. That night Aman could not sleep, realizing that while he could open locks, reading the intentions of men was far more difficult. Strange things began to happen over the next few days. Unmarked cars parked outside his shop and silent phone calls had disconnected immediately. His father grew terrified and suggested they take the money and move elsewhere, but Aman knew that running would not solve the problem. He contacted the police and the senior officer who had helped him before, who provided assurance but warned him that not everyone wants a safe opened for legal reasons. Soon after, the government assigned Eman a special task. A safe found in an old fort needed to be opened because it contained vital historical information. Aman went there and, despite the immense pressure, used his signature method of refusing machines and asking only for time. After 3 hours, the safe opened, revealing documents that corrected many historical inaccuracies, teaching Aman that skill in the right hands can unlock the truth, not just money. Aman's identity evolved from a mere lock expert to a man of integrity, and though he received invitations from many institutions, he chose to stay at his workshop. He expanded his school, but kept it affordable, charging no fees but requiring one rule: whatever you learn, you must teach to others. Over time, he saw that the children were not just opening locks, but the closed doors of their own lives. Some went into studies, some into jobs, and some started their own businesses. This was his true innings. Even Malhotra eventually visited the workshop, no longer arrogant, but as an ordinary man, thanking Aman for the lesson that every safe was a teacher. The people who had previously threatened Aman eventually returned and tried to intimidate him by damaging his workshop. Though he was shaken, the sight of his students refusing to be afraid gave him the strength to stand his ground. He took legal action and, with the support of the media and the public, the case was resolved when Aman emerged stronger. He learned that some locks are made of fear, and it takes courage to break them. Years passed, and as Aman grew older, his sensitivity to the sound of metal remained the same. His story was documented in books, but when asked who he was, he always gave the same answer: he was just a boy who understood locks while sitting in the scrap. He realized that destiny is not a closed vault for the lucky, but a lock that opens with the right hands, the right thoughts, and the right time.